All right, what's going on, dudes, and welcome to a new Minecraft Snapshot, 14W10. Not a whole bunch of new stuff, but I still figured it was worth making a video. So let's jump into things with a new survival feature, that being that wolves will now attack skeletons, and the skeletons will run away without attacking unless they get cornered, in which case they will start to fight back. But let's see if we can demonstrate both scenarios here. Run away, skeleton, run away! You're getting attacked by a wolf, and now you're on fire. It's just a really bad situation for you overall. Anyway, he's going to keep running away until he either gets killed by the wolf, which you just did, or he burns up. But on the other hand, if we go ahead and close off this corral over here, let me do that really quick, and then we spawn them both inside again, you'll notice that the wolf will actually start getting shot by the skeleton once the skeleton gets put into the corner. So that's something to keep in mind. You know, it makes sense, though, because wolves are attracted to bones, so skeletons seem to be a target that they'd be really happy to go after. Anyway, that's a new change. Now we'll move into something super minor. I don't know, it just said on the change log that the paintings and item frames, the positioning of them was slightly reworked, and I just interpreted that to mean that they will no longer ever overlap and double plane on each other. So there we go. Just thought I'd mention that. Now let's get into some more interesting stuff like exploding arrows and snowballs spawning snow. I don't know. Anyway, we'll need the stuff in this chest here, so let me grab it. So in the past, you were able to create these scoreboard objectives that would measure a certain player statistic, and then you could program a command block so that once that statistic reached a certain threshold, an event could happen. But you could only do it for players, you couldn't do it for entities, and now with this snapshot, you can do these scoreboard objectives for entities. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a system so that once a snowball or an arrow has existed in the world for a certain amount of time, an event will take place. So first off, we've got to create a scoreboard objective that will measure the amount of time a given entity has existed in the world. And we're going to do that with this command right here. The idea is we're creating a scoreboard objective called time that will measure the stats time since death for whatever specified entity. This is actually a new stat that can be monitored in the new snapshot. Better name for it would be time existed, but not a big deal. Anyway, when you add an entity to this objective, it'll just measure how long it's been around. That's all. So let's enable this thing really quickly. And now if you want an actual visual representation of it, we can display it here. And now it shows how long I've been alive. Well, not how long I've been alive, but how long I've been alive since we've had this command in place. So the counter is going to keep on ticking up for me, and that's all fine and dandy. But now let's add in some entities to the mix. So I have this command block here that adds in any snowballs that appear in the world to that time objective. And then the command block next to it looks for any snowballs that have exceeded an existence of 5 ticks. So over here, you'll see it says /execute at E, type equals snowball, and it's looking for the score time to be a minimum of 5. And then at that point, if it reaches that minimum of 5, it'll set a block down, set a snow block down to be specific. So let's go ahead and throw out a snowball, and you'll notice the snowball entity ID will pop up over on the right, and once it gets to greater than 5, it'll turn into a snow block. So notice how it says 6 over next to that long string of numbers. That's the time it's existed. And again, once it was greater than 5, it spawns a snow block. So I can keep doing this. And obviously, again, we could use the execute command in the past just to keep summoning snow blocks on any snowball that you throw, but you couldn't specify a particular time to spawn that snow block. It would just keep spawning every time the command block got set off. So this is really cool because you can actually specify how long you want an object to exist before performing an event on it. Now, likewise, over here, and actually, so I did this with, I did the same sort of thing with arrows, except instead of summoning a snow block, I just summon a primed TNT after the arrow has existed for 1 tick. If I do any longer, then it gets too far away and you can't actually see the explosion go off, but boom. And keep firing arrows. And actually, I had this triggered earlier. The reason the redstone was broken is because on the start, when I was doing the wolf and skeleton thing, I had the skeleton, when he shot off an arrow, it exploded. And I was like, what happened? I don't know what. Oh, this happened. Haha. No, you don't know what to do. I'm scared, and he'll just now. Oh God, Jesus, what? Anyway, that thing on the side is probably getting distracting. So let me go ahead and hide it. But anyway, fire off a few more arrows. See you later, squids. So again, you can change the delay until the TNT spawns or the snow block spawns. I just set these values so it was easy enough to set up a demonstration for it. I was also trying earlier to be able to measure a damage taken statistic on mobs. So if I had a pig that got a certain amount of damage taken, it would then spawn a new pig. Unfortunately, I created an infinite loop of spawning pigs, and I had to resurrect my world in MC Edit because there were probably hundreds of thousands of pigs that got spawned in the span of a few seconds accidentally. But anyway, you could do something like that if you got the commands correct to where once a certain mob takes an amount of damage, it'll actually respawn. Or, for example, you could have, well, along the same lines with this exact sort of commands, you could have like an Ender Dragon that you have to beat it in a certain amount of time, otherwise it'll spawn again. So anyway, just things to keep in mind. It's pretty cool. So we'll wrap things up with a few more minor additions, one of which is a new game rule that you can use to disable death messages being shown. So if a player dies, then it won't actually show it in chat. So if I enable this here, boom, and then I /kill myself, it'll say killed CaptainSparklez, but it won't actually say how I died, which probably would have been fell out of the world. I think that's what it says if you use the kill command. So there's that, and then you can also specify that on a per team basis with the scoreboard, as well as an additional application. That's more useful because sometimes you don't want to see when other people on other teams are dying. You'd prefer to focus on your own team or even not at all. Next up, we've also got some new stats to measure as well. One being distance crouched, another being distance sprinted. And since last death, we already went over, but that's new. So if I crouch, walk a little bit more, and then sprint, then it'll also measure changes there. So those will have gone up. I didn't keep track of the exact amount they were just at, but they will have incremented if you go between the two times I was just on the menu there. Anyway, just some final things I wrote down in a book. I already went over the hide death info for scoreboard teams. More blocks were also converted into the new model format, including beds, hoppers, repeaters, cake, and even more on top of that. And finally, there's a tag that you can give to villagers when you spawn them to disable receiving XP from their trades. I guess that'd be useful potentially for adventure maps, but can't think of many other applications for it. Maybe servers, things like that. Anyway, that about does it for this snapshot. Hopefully you've enjoyed. If you have, a rating would be much appreciated. Other than that, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.